All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. It is Friday, January the 13th, 2023, and I hope you're doing well this morning. It's a beautiful day. Let me say hello to everybody. Jerry, I hope you had a great birthday yesterday. Happy birthday again. Good morning to Jerry and Janet, and good evening to Dayspring in Scotland, and good morning to Ellen and Richard, and to Kelly Kenfield, and to Kelly and Melody Woods. And hello to Barbara Callahan, and good morning to Elizabeth and to Jesse and Lori and Pat, and to Sonia Takach, and to Sonia and Margarita, and to Ron and Amy. Good morning, and Kathleen, and good afternoon to Hattie. Good morning to you. And I know you said it feels like morning, so good morning. And let's see here. Good morning to Pastor and Sister Martinez. Um, and and good morning to Misty, and to Joshua, and to Tina, and good morning to Joyce and Joe, and to the Eddies, to Lauren and Mike and David and Levi and Valor and Haven, and to Everett. Hope all of you are doing well this morning. All right, well, we are in Isaiah 28. We're now going to be in Isaiah 28 is the beginning really of a new section in Isaiah. For the last, we had chapters 13 to 23 were the oracles to the nations. Chapters 24 to 27 are what I call kind of the book of Revelation in the middle of Isaiah, we'll see some end time stuff later in Isaiah as well. And then now we are moving back into Isaiah's, on one level, the present situation, right? That to enter back into, he's talking about what is going to be, what is a surefire, what the Lord is doing, what will be. The Lord has spoken it. But now we're back in the present, in the moment of world history where there's Israel is divided in the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The Assyrians are coming, and in the last in this last section, in these last two sections, there have been a couple of verses that talk about Egypt and Assyria, which Egypt was the original kind of world power, and Assyria being sort of the present world power. And in chapter 19, the Lord gave this word that says that they're going to be like Israel and Assyria and Egypt will be all worshiping the Lord, that they'll be full members of the Lord's people, that they would both come under submission to the Lord as king. And so you're going, well, what does that look like? That sounds great. It sounds incredible. It sounds like it would take it's extraordinary. It would take a miracle for that to happen. And so we're brought back into the present, where the Lord is to recognize that in the moment, not only will the Lord be king, but he is sovereign. He is Lord of all. In Isaiah 19, we read, in that day, there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria. And the Assyrians will come to Egypt, and the Egyptians to Assyria. And the Egyptians will worship with the Assyrians. In that day, verse 24, Israel will be the third, along with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the earth. For Adonai Tzevaot has blessed, saying, blessed is Egypt, my people, and Assyria, my handiwork, and Israel, my inheritance. Then, of course, we saw yesterday in verse 13, it will also come about in that day a great shofar will be blown, and those perishing are the dead ones, the destroyed ones in the land of Assyria, and the exiles, right? Those that have been scattered in the land of Egypt, in the land of Mitzrayim, in the land of our distresses, our bondages, will come and worship Adonai on the holy mountain in Jerusalem. So there's coming a time where this idea of the Assyrians, when we think, they're alien. These are they're another people. The Egyptians, they're it's a different. They're different. They may as well be from Mars. That the idea that they will become members, these who have been perpetual enemies will become friends, that these crushing powers will become submissive. It seems like, how is that going to happen? So now Isaiah is going to show that God is in control. Here's what will be, and the Lord is giving a word for what is going to be right now. And the Lord is sovereign over Judah and over Egypt and over Assyria, and that's going to be demonstrated before their eyes. We're going to see that what's going on in Judah at this time is a concern over an Egyptian alliance, that as we go through these chapters, not today, we won't see that. The Egyptian alliance in the days of Hezekiah, where we'll see Judah is just willfully refusing to trust the way of trust, the trust in the Lord, and choosing to trust in Egypt. And Egypt is shown to be this blustering, loud, they got a lot to say, but ultimately they've got nothing that they can do. They can't be your protector. And then we'll see the Assyrian army is, the colossal power that's being sent to punish those who are refusing the way of trust. And so chapter 28 takes us now back to the time before the Assyrians, before 722 BCE, before the Assyrians conquered the northern kingdom. And the word to the northern kingdom, to Ephraim is the northern kingdom. The 10 tribes are often referred to in Scripture as Ephraim, which is just one of those tribes, but Ephraim was the leading tribe of the northern kingdom. And so that becomes a nickname for the northern kingdom. And so God's word to Ephraim here is that Ephraim is ripe for the picking, is ripe for judgment. All right. Need to see something here. All right. So let's jump into verse 1 here. We read in the Tree of Life version, it says, "Oi, the proud crown of Ephraim's drunks, its glorious beauty is a fading flower, which is at the head of the fertile valleys of those overcome with wine." I want to kind of give you for what me is a clearer translation of what I'm reading here. Because literally the language here, it says, woe. It says, woe to the crown is the link. Woe to the crown of pride of Ephraim's drunks, right? So the crown, it says, woe to this crown. The title, by the way, today is 2 crowns, one fading, one enduring. It says, woe to the the crown of pride on Ephraim's drunks. The withering or fading flower. So that crown of pride is a withering flower. His glorious beauty. It's withering, it's fading, which is upon the head of the fertile valleys, or the fat valleys, the valleys of fatness, the valleys that are lush, of those that are thrashed by wine, those that are knocked down, those overcome by wine, those knocked down by wine. So the imagery in this verse, right, what it's picturing when it talks about a crown, it pictures the crown of garland. So, when you see the sort of the ancient Greeks or in the ancient world where they would have kind of a crown of a garland that would be made of, flowers. And so these were these flowers that were worn on the heads of partygoers. When people would have big celebrations, they would be reveling. They would wear these crowns made of flowers. And at first, when the party begins, when you show up and everyone's got their fancy flower crown on, and it looks so beautiful. Oh, I love your hat. I love your hat. That's kind of the, and maybe different flowers, different looking crowns and so forth. But as the night wears on, it's beautiful at first. It's attractive at first. But as the night wears on, and these partiers are partying, and they're drunk. The flowers begin to wither. By the end of the night, the flowers don't look like they looked, and neither do the party goers, right? And so the imagery then is drawn of another crown, another garland that's set upon the head of the fertile valley. So that refers to Samaria. Samaria was the capital of Ephraim. Samaria had these terraced vineyards, fertile valleys, and its walls crowned kind of a lovely hill in the middle of a rich valley, looking out toward the coast. So, like this withering garland, Samaria's time of beauty, of adornment, of loveliness is fading. The Assyrians are coming; they're at the gate. It's only a matter of time. And the thing that to recognize here, so we read it. It says, woe to that crown, and that crown of pride. Woe to that crown of pride upon of Ephraim's drunks. To the fading flower, the withering flower, his glorious beauty. That withering flower is his glorious beauty. His glorious beauty, his pride is withering, and which is upon the head of the fertile valleys of those that are knocked over, overcome by, thrashed by wine. And so while the imagery here, right, is of drunken party goers, recognize this. First of all, the issue here isn't drunkenness or wine or strong drink. That's not the focus here. Obviously, the fact that those things are being used negatively says something. It says something about the issue of drunkenness, right? It certainly puts it in a negative light. It's not lifting it up as. But again, that's not the primary issue, right? The drunkenness is an illustration, and it's a symptom. The real issue, and we'll see this with clarity, but it's here right in this verse, is really what the wine is. What is the intoxicating drink? What is the strong drink that they've been drinking? Right? It says, woe to the pride crowning your head. Woe to the exaltedness, to this intoxicating pride. And the results of the intoxicating pride is that it results in a distortion. And we're going to see this not only today, because we're just going through verses 1 through 6 today, but when we get into verses 7 and 8, that this pride which exalts itself against the only true exalted one. Like the Lord is the only one that is the exalted one. But there's an exalted crown, there's exalted pride, there's a crown of pride on the heads of Ephraim. And this beauty is fading, and the result of the pride is that it's distorting. It blurs your vision. And by the end of the night, it knocks you over. By the end of the night, it has thrashed you the way that the wine and the strong drink do. We read way back at the beginning, back in Isaiah chapter 5. Verse 11, woe to those who rise up early in the morning so they may pursue liquor, who stay up late at night until wine inflames them. Harp and lyre, tambourine and flute, and wine are at their banquets. They do not notice Adonai's activity nor see the work of his hands. Right? So they're so intoxicated, and yes, it includes the strong drink and all the things that they're doing. They're so intoxicated that they are unaware. They're not paying attention to the Lord. They're just blurred through life. They don't notice what the Lord is doing. They don't see the work of his hands. Therefore, my people are in captivity because they lack knowledge. Their honorable men are famished, and their multitudes parched with thirst. Skip ahead to verse 18 of chapter 5. Woe to those that drag iniquity along with cords of deceit. So the imagery here is that the cart they're pulling is a cart of twistedness. And the way they're able to pull it is with cords that are a lie. And they're pulling sin as if with a cart rope. And they're saying, Verse 19, let him hurry up and hasten his work so we may see it. Let's see what the Lord is doing while they're dragging iniquity and sin along. But let's see what God is doing. Let the plan of the Holy One of Israel draw near and come so we may know it. Verse 20, Oi to those who call evil good and good evil, and present darkness as light and light as darkness, who present bitter as sweet and sweet as bitter. And what we're going to see later in Isaiah 28 is that who the Lord specifically calls out are the religious leaders of Israel. He specifically, and we'll see this on Monday, calls out the priests and the prophets who are intoxicated by pride. And it's blurring their vision. That the people cannot see what God is doing. They don't know the voice of the Lord. They can't hear the voice of the Lord. So that everything is turned upside down. Everything's twisted around. And the people entrusted with leading God's people have brought utter confusion. They call evil good, good evil. Darkness is light. Light is darkness. Bitter is sweet. Sweet is bitter. Everything's turned upside down because they've embraced the ways of this world. Oi to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Oi to those who are heroes at drinking wine and valiant at mixing drinks, who justify the wicked for a bribe and deprive the innocent of justice. See, in the midst of all their pride and their drunkenness and their revelry and in their just pursuit of themselves, justice is gone. Righteousness is gone. It's therefore as a tongue of fire consumes straw and as chaff collapses into the flame, it's gone, right? So their root will be like rot, and their blossom will go up like dust, because they have rejected the instruction of Adonai Tzevot, and they have despised what he has spoken. They've hated the word of the Holy One of Israel. So that's what we kind of was in the overview of chapters 1 through 5, just before we read Isaiah's call in chapter 6. And so here we see, again, the crown on their head that's causing them drunkenness is the pride of life, right? Is the pride of the exaltedness of themselves, and it blinds them. Me, self-exaltation, what I want, right? A self-centeredness. Verse 2 says, Hine, behold, look, Adonai is strong and mighty, like a storm of hail, like a hailstorm, a destructive tempest, or a windstorm, like a windstorm of destruction. And that word for destruction has to do even with a destructive plague. Like a downpour of overflowing water. It says like a storm of waters, like mighty floods. He hurls it down to earth with his hand. It literally says it settles, it rests to the earth in his hand. Like he brings this down onto the earth and settles it on the land in his hand. So first of all, the focus here though is, look, Adonai is strong and mighty. Right? Ultimately, the tool at this point in the hand of the Lord is going to be Assyria. But it's not Assyria that is strong and mighty. Assyria is that storm which is in the hand of the Lord, which is coming, which the Lord hurls at Ephraim. I mean, the Lord is going to use whatever it takes. He's going to use hailstorm. He's going to use flood. He's going to use whatever it takes. He's going to use Assyria. Right? The Lord always has at his disposal some power more than adequate for his task. It may look to our eyes like it's Assyria, that's the destructive plague that's coming in like a storm from the east, right? But it's his hand. It's him that's saying, no, he's slow to anger. But the time has come where the Lord's going to deal with this. Verse 3 again, the proud crown of Ephraim's drunks will be trampled underfoot. Again, let me give you the literal rendering here. It says in or under feet trampled. is the crown of pride, the drunkenness of Ephraim, right? So the drunkenness is this crown of pride. That's the focus here. It has more to do with the heart condition, with the self-exaltation, with my ways, with a rejection of his ways. The crown that I'm wearing is my exaltation. My ways is the crown that Ephraim's wearing. And that crown is fading. Again, verse 4 repeats the language from verse 1. Right? The glorious, and it will be. You don't see this here, but the language, it opens up with vahiata, and it will be. The fading sprout, the fading flower, the glory, the ornament of beauty, which is upon the head of the valley of fatness, or the fertile valley. And it will be, right? The glorious beauty, it will be a fading flower. The glorious beauty that is on the head of this fertile valley. The city, Samaria, that you look to, its beauty will be, this exaltedness, it will be a wilting flower. And he says it's going to be like this. It will be like this, like a first ripe fig before summer. So the imagery here, right, is just before you didn't have the kind of shipping of things back in those days. So when it's not harvest season, by the time summer arrives, by the time the first harvest arrives, there are things that have not been eaten in a while. And when the first fruits right before summer, it says whoever sees it, says in seeing it, when he sees it, while it's still in the palm of his hand, he just swallows it up. He's like, I haven't seen, here it puts in fig's not in there. It's just the first fruits before summer. That this is ripe fruit and so hungry for it that it will be gone, right? No sooner than he sees it, he's eaten it. Samaria, Ephraim is ripe for the picking. The glory of Samaria, it's fading and it's ripe for the picking. And it's going to be like, as soon as, in seeing it, someone sees it, going to swallow it up. But in that day, verse 5. So here's the beauty here. Here's this crown. And here's the judgment that's coming. And you're going to be swallowed up. Right? But no sooner is swallowed up mentioned, the day of being swallowed up mentioned, than the alternative is now mentioned. The hope, the day of new beginnings is brought immediately to our attention in verse 5. In that day, Adonai Tzevaot will be a crown of glory. Right? He will be a crown of beauty, a diadem of beauty. And it says, Tzifarat Tifara, which is like a crown, and he will be a crown of crowns. He will be a crown that remains a crown. So this crown over here is a wilting flower, fading. But in that day, Adonai Tzevaot will be, right? He will be a crown of glory, a crown of beauty, a crown of crowns, or a beauty of beauties to the remnant, to the remaining of his people. Right, so here's the solution. While the Lord's going to bring discipline and correction, even punishment, even judgment, right? The Lord never goes back on his promise to preserve his people. There's going to be a remnant. And we talked about that over the last couple days. The pride surrounding Ephraim, right? The crown you're wearing, you got two crowns here. One's a withering flower. When everything is said and done, it's going to be shown for what it is. A withering flower. At the end of the night, it's trampled underfoot. It's not pretty anymore. Right? It's used up. And now, by the end of the party, it's trampled on. But in that same day, the Lord of hosts, the Lord, the exalted one, the Lord of hosts, right? Who is the only exalted one. Your exaltedness will be crushed underfoot. But he will be a crown that is a crown of crowns, a beautiful crown, a crown that stays a crown that maintains its beauty, that maintains its character, as opposed to the beauty which is a fading flower, which is beautiful, but then poof, it's gone. It's just a mess on the floor, garbage to be thrown away at the end of the party. Right? And the false crown, the temporary crown, is revealed for what it is. And the true crown that has always been there and still is there is now more evident and now pronounced. What may have been unclear at the beginning, which crown do you want to wear? And you go, wow, this one's pretty. Look at those pretty flowers and everything. This is a pretty crown. But I want this crown. But by the end of the night, and if you were to compare them by the end of the night, there'd be no choice. This is the crown of crowns. This thing where everyone's stepped on it, walked all over it. Because his beauty, the Lord himself, his beauty will not fade. He cannot be defeated. It's not going to be walked over. The issue for us is whether we will be those who are the remnant, who remain, who will see the Lord himself. He is the crown that we're called upon to wear. And as he is the crown, when you wear him, here's the result. When he becomes your crown rather than your own pride, your own exaltedness, verse 6 shows us what he produces in us. And because what you see here that you can't see in the English is there's the preposition is the toward, for. A spirit, well, you can't see it because it says for him here. But it says a spirit of judgment for him, and it mishpat. A just or a governing, a spirit of justice or governance for him who sits on the seat of justice. And strength for those turning back the battle at the gate. Right? So this will be, first of all, the Lord himself will be the crown, and he will be a true king. The true king is depicted that we read about back in Isaiah 11, verses 1 through 9, right? Instead of the drunken, self-serving, craven rulers of Israel and Judah that they'd become used to, there's going to be a new spirit on the throne. Isaiah 11, then a shoot will come forth out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch will bear fruit out of his roots. The Ruach, the spirit of Adonai, will rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and insight, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Adonai. His delight will be in the fear of Adonai. He will not judge by what his eyes see, nor decide by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he will judge the poor and decide with fairness for the poor of the land. He will strike the land with the rod of his mouth and with the breath of his lips. Also righteousness will be the belt around his loins, and faithfulness the belt around his waist. The wolf will dwell with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the kid, the calf and the young lion and the yearling together, and the little child will lead them. A little child will lead them. The cow and the bear will graze, their young ones lie down together. The lion will eat straw like an ox rather than eating the ox. A nursing child will play by a cobra's hole, and a weaned child will put his hand into a viper's den. The imagery of that is like terrifying, right? But in that day, right, they will not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of Adonai as the waters cover the sea. Right, so here the Lord himself is the crown that we're to be wearing, that he creates a true and a secure kingdom. He himself becomes to us a spirit of judgment to the one who sits in judgment. It's strength to those who need the strength to turn back the battle at the gate. Right? So when you read about judgment here, mishpat, it's more than just sort of a narrow concept of justice. It's right judgment in all things. It's the right treatment of all. It's governance that is whole and correct, and it's a real kingly quality. So at the end, you have this comparison of these two crowns, and the question becomes, which crown will you wear? And when you read this, it seems it's clear, because this one withers and fades, right? The exaltedness of the present age, the pride of life. The thing is the pride of life, it intoxicates. tempting. It's pretty at the beginning, but it's intoxicating. It ends up knocking you over, thrashing you. Brings confusion and blurriness to what's clear and real and true. And just and it's happened among the people of God, to those called by his name, even to spiritual leaders, as we'll see on Monday. So which crown will we wear? Or we wear a crown that is the crown of crowns, right? The Lord himself as the crown. And what he produces in us, right, is a character, a spirit of justice, for righteousness, for the right treatment, for what we, as we sit in that place. He'll produce in us the strength that we need when we're turning back, when we're dealing with the battle at the gate, right? Rather than being so, which crown? This one, when you're knocked over and dazed, you're not going to be able to deal with the battle. But when you wear the Lord, when you say, you are my crown, you are the glory of my head, not the exaltedness of my life. So humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he'll lift you up. Say, Lord, search me and know me. I don't want to self-deceive. I don't want to, because these people in Ephraim, they wore the crown of exaltedness and pride, and it blurred their vision. So give me clarity, and may I walk in your ways all the days of my life. Amen? All right. Well, again, Shabbat Shalom. Let me say hello to anybody that I missed on the front end. All right. Good morning. Let's see. Good morning again to the Eddies, to Lauren and Mike and David and Levi and Valor and Haven and Everett. Good morning, Everett. And Jerry and Janet. Jerry saying I'm a double-minded man today. Casey and the Dolphins. Well, Casey's not playing this weekend. And Kansas City's one of, so my teams are Dolphins. Dolphins have my heart. Dolphins always are my team. But lived in Kansas City and in Missouri for a number of years. I love the Chiefs. And I love the Cardinals here in Phoenix. But when any of those teams play the Dolphins, there's no question who I root for. Dolphins don't have much of a chance. So hoping that they can somehow, they're like this week. It's like their third string quarterback. It's going to be like Gideon and the Midianites, except I hope that the Lord is on their side. I don't think he's involving himself in these football games, though. So, I mean, he's involved in all things, but I think he's going to let the outcome work its way out. Well, good morning as well to my mother-in-law, Cassiany Gannon. Love you, Mom, and hope you're doing well, and hope you're continuing to rest as you're supposed to, as your back heals. Oh, I do have amazing news, by the way. Yesterday, I want to share with everyone, my mother-in-law called us yesterday. So my father-in-law has been was diagnosed some time back with bladder cancer. And so he had surgery, and they had gotten everything out. But when they went to begin his treatments afterward, the medication that was needed, and I don't remember the name of it, but the medication that was needed for the treatments was shorted. There wasn't available. And so they were waiting for it to become available, and it's been week after week after week after week. And so now we're a couple months removed from the surgery. And so he went back into the doctor, because then they were going to get ready to go to a different type of treatment, since the first and most optimal treatment isn't available. Well, during that time, we've been praying. I've been praying for him, and a number of people have been praying for his healing, and yet concerned what's going on. There's no treatment, and it's this was a very aggressive cancer. And so in getting ready for that final, or for the new treatment, they needed to evaluate how far if the cancer had spread any further. And when they took the test yesterday, or when the test came back yesterday, revealed there is zero cancer in his bladder, and that the Lord has answered our prayers and healed him completely. And so we were rejoicing and are rejoicing for the Lord's faithfulness. We know that there are so many things the Lord still has to do through Ray Gannon, Dr. Ray Gannon, and so his time, he is still here with the purposes, walking in the purposes of the Lord, and we rejoice in that and are excited for all that God wants to do through all of us. So rejoice with us, and that we still serve a healing God. All right, let me say good morning to a couple other people. Good morning to my cousin Jean-Luc in Italy, and good morning to Sylvia, and hello to Misty as well. All right, well, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom. Have a beautiful day.